Hi, my name is Tracy Barnow and I'm an ordained minister with the United Church of Christ. I currently serve as the Minister for Church Vitality in the Hawaii Conference, and I attend my local church, and I'm a member at UCC Jed Street in Honolulu, Hawaii. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the new Be One app that's coming out, named after the UCC motto that they all may be one. And it's an app that's going to be connecting people, and that's really critical in today's age and for today's churches, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about why. Recently when I started, I was given newsletters for all of the churches in the Hawaii Conference so that I could get up to speed on what they were doing. Now I want you to imagine that there's a whole stack of newsletters, about 43 of them was given to me, and that's not even for all of the churches, that's not even for half. And I had to read through all of them to find out what was going on in them. And I found it really frustrating because in reality, I knew what I was interested in, I knew what was important to me, I knew the kinds of events I was looking for, and I had to read through tons and tons of information to be able to glean what I needed. And by the time I got the ones that I needed, most of them weren't in my area, several of them had already occurred, and the last two that actually were in my area and hadn't occurred conflicted with my schedule. But I had to read through 43 newsletters before I was able to get that little bit of information that I needed. And that's indicative of a disconnect that we have right now between the way modern people and youth absorb and look for information and the way that our churches are giving it. Back in the day, before we had technology that we have now, people would move into their community, look for a local church, get involved, join, and then get on their newsletter list. In the past it was mailed, then it became emailed, now sometimes it's texted or appears on Facebook or other things like that. But modern people don't do that anymore. Instead, as you may be aware, on your smartphone or on your computer, people scan through social media sites and through news sites looking at the titles of hundreds and hundreds of articles a day and only stop and click on the ones that are important to them or that match their values or things that are important to them. So right now, a lot of our churches are in decline, and they're trying to figure out what to do about it. And there's a lot of people working on this issue. There's a lot of people trying to speculate what's happening, what's the reasons for all of these things, and what's going to happen in the future. What we know right now is that there are a lot of people that aren't going to church. We call them unchurched. They've never really set foot in a church, or maybe they broke with the church a long time ago. But they still have values and they're still passionate about things that are very much in alignment with what the United Church of Christ stands for. Loving one's neighbor as oneself, making the world a better place. Some people call this social justice, but acting on behalf of all people in humanity to connect them, to nurture them, to help them in whatever ways that we can. A lot of people are interested in these issues, but they don't know how to get involved. And the United Church of Christ they may never have heard of, even though it's been working on these issues for centuries. We're also finding that ministers are feeling increasingly isolated, and we're finding that there is a very inefficient flow of information from the local church to the associations, to the conferences, and back to the churches, but not so much to the outside world. The other thing that we find in today's UCC churches is that people in general, because of political climates, because of their own personal experiences, are very, very hesitant to invite people to church. They are worried that they're going to be pushy or aggressive or be affiliated with other churches that perhaps don't share the same values that the United Church of Christ shares. So, I want you to imagine something that would allow people in the local church to talk about the values that are important to them, that are being talked about on the national and on the international stage. Hunger issues, poverty issues, issues around immigrant rights and LGBT rights, housing, and so on. The UCC has been working on these issues for years. How do we bridge that gap? So in all of these situations, what we have is a disconnect. We have a disconnect with pastors from each other, conferences from churches, people from the church in general, local churches from other churches that are working on the same issues. So what would it look like if an individual in the church was doing what they normally do, scrolling through social media site or a news site, and they find an article that talks about an issue they're passionate about. You may see this all the time on Facebook and other social media sites where people will share or link to an article that talks about a really controversial issue. And their response is to say, why doesn't somebody do something? This makes me so upset. I wish there was something that I could do. I wish there was something anybody could do. What the B1 app will do will allow you to link people who are passionate about this subject with the actions that are being done with local churches all across the United States. Here's how it's going to do that. It's going to take the information that churches have naturally on their websites, in their newsletters, on their calendars, in their e-blasts, and it's going to put it all together and allow it to be sorted and organized so that you can easily find local churches that are working on a particular issue. So if you happen to see an article or a blog, or if you write a blog or are writing a newsletter article that talks about an issue that's important to you, you will be able to link it to all of the United Church of Christ churches across the nation that are working on that particular issue, and then post it wherever you're going to post it, so that anybody who sees that post and gets as passionate as you are about this issue will be able to click on a simple link and see the churches in their area that are taking action on this issue and show them how to get involved quickly and easily. It's also going to start connecting churches to each other. So little churches that are trying to work on an issue will not be as isolated. They'll be able to network and collaborate with other churches across the country that are working on the same issue. So they're not reinventing the wheel, so that they can share resources. And on the association and the conference level, they'll be able to understand better what all of their churches are doing and be able to help curate that information to get it back to the people that need it. For the local church that may be struggling, what this is going to do is it's going to take all of the types of technology that we currently use, websites, e-newsletters, Twitter feeds, Facebook pages, and it's going to put them all into one simple, easy-to-use app so that you can curate them all at the same time, which will reduce the amount of time and money and energy that is spent putting these things together and taking care of them the way most churches take care of them now, which is individually. It will also allow them to encourage and make it easier for their members to invite people to church, to share what their church is doing in the local community, and make it easier for them to invite others to get involved, whether they be local or across the nation. How is this app going to work? You may wonder, this sounds really big, this sounds really complicated, how will it work in our particular local church? What if we already have an enormous amount of technology? What if we already have a really expensive web page, or lots of people that are paid or volunteering to take care of our Twitter feed and our Facebook page and so on? Or what if we're a really small church that isn't really tech savvy and may not even have a website? Well, that's another disconnect, because there is not a level playing field between the churches, and different churches are in different places technologically. So what the B1 app is going to do is it's going to, in stages, level the playing field and connect everyone. So the first phase will be to get every single church's website in the B1 app up and running, and then allow people some time with training and coaching and hand-holding as necessary to start tagging all of their material on their website currently, and as many archives as they feel as they want to add, with the issues that are important to their church that people may be passionate about. That may be hunger issues, poverty issues, immigrant rights issues, racial issues, or simply loving one's neighbor as oneself. The next stage of this will be to start distributing the information so that everybody can see it in a consistent manner. People in their local churches can use mapping technology to find what other churches in their area are working on, or they can simply start by saying, this is an issue that's important to me, what's going on across the nation, and see all of the different events, all of the different sermons, all of the different podcasts on that particular topic. After that, once we have that information, we'll be able to facilitate all of the ways that we currently communicate, but make them easier, make them faster, and make them less expensive. Weekly e-blasts, posting things on Facebook pages for churches, and even the hard copy paper newsletters that people still get in their mailboxes will all be available through the B1 app. But the information will be more current, it will be more up to date, it will be streamlined, and it will be more comprehensive for things that are going on in the church, in the local association, in the local conference, and across the nation. Our target date for rollout is Pentecost 2019. And the final phase of the B1 app rollout will be the social media aspect. And that component is going to be especially exciting, as people, young and old, will be able to start to connect the articles, the blogs, the sermons, the news feeds that they are already seeing going through their phones with the issues that are already being tackled by the United Church of Christ at the local church. So imagine being able to post on your Facebook page, I just saw this article in the New York Times, it's about immigrant rights. I'm really passionate about this. Here's what my local church is doing about it, and if you want to click on this link, you can find out what 153 churches across the nation are working on in regards to this issue this week. Click here to find out more and find one close to you. Imagine how quickly we can spread information. Imagine how quickly and easy it's going to be to invite people in any way, shape, or form on social media, in newsletters, in e-blasts, on Twitter, just by using this app. Simple thumb navigation like we already do when we're sharing things on our social media sites. With the B1 app, for the first time, churches are going to be able to connect exactly what they're working on with people across the nation that share the values with the United Church of Christ, but may not already be aware of it. It can also help you navigate things like your internal structures in your church. Your electronic donations will be less expensive and easier to implement, and every single website is going to have one of those buttons so that your churches, if you're not already connected with electronic giving, will be able to start accepting donations online. If you already have that capability, this will make it cheaper, and it'll make it easier, and it'll make it faster.